Welcome back to the realm of the mindful madman. This is gonna be my first video talking about books. This book is called Rules for a Night. Can't really see it. It's probably not. It's probably not aligning or focusing at all, and the lighting is pretty much on me. But it's called Rules for a Night by Ethan Hawke. I'm sure some of you are like, I've heard that name before. Yes, Ethan Hawke is an actor. You've seen him in, well, I'm not gonna say you, but I've only seen him in Training Day, The Purge, and obviously one of the classics, Dead Poets Society with the late great Robin Williams. So basically what happened was I was in Barnes & Noble's one day. I was in the classics section, and at the bottom, on one of the bottom shelves in the very corner, I just see this book just slightly ajar, and it was very different than all the other books. This is a small pocket book. It's green. It has a tassel built into it. The name and the wording on the front is very simple, and it's like gold coloring. And I don't know if you can hear that ASMR, but that was stupid. But it's not like your typical glossy, smooth hardcover books. It has like a texturized finish to it, and it was just sticking out at the very bottom. And obviously I'm a very curious person, so I'm like, what is this book here? It looks like someone just came into the store and just placed it there. So I pulled it out, skimmed through, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna read this. And before I read it, I told myself that I believe that this book is going to be transformative in many ways. And this is definitely one of the few books that I've read that just really just affected me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you read books that are really great, then you read some that are just like, you still think about it. And this is one of those few books. Yeah, so basically, just in a nutshell, this book is about a knight, and he doesn't think he's gonna make it home to his family because he's in battle, he's in war. So he writes pretty much letters, which are comprised of a set of rules that he learned over his life and is for his children. The book is written in a way where it kind of like, as each chapter he talks about a lesson, he relates it back to pretty much how he grew up and his start from like teenage years to adulthood and into becoming a grown man. And basically, he was a troubled teen, and his grandfather took him under his wing and pretty much taught him everything he needed to know and helped him become a knight. Or more so, he was already a knight because it's something embedded within you, but his grandfather taught him how to let that shine and how to actually embody the attributes of a knight. So each chapter, I mean, the book is pretty short. It took me a little bit longer to read it because I wasn't like reading it like a novel, just picking it up, reading it, thinking about it, and putting it down. And, you know, each page is like, the book is short and each page isn't that long. It doesn't have that many words on it, so if you sat there and just read it straight through, you could probably read it in one sitting. But I didn't want to read it that way because it wasn't that type of book. It was definitely to me, it seemed like it was very Bible inspired. And even if Ethan Hawke wasn't thinking about the Bible when he wrote it, I'm a firm believer that pretty much everything in existence always kind of relates back to the Bible. It was just giving me, it had a feel of like Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, like that type of feel. Because, you know, in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, Proverbs is more when Solomon was younger, in his life and what he learned and the wisdom that he obtained. And Ecclesiastes is like later in life after Solomon lived, like he lived for real. So it was like after the end of his life, like a full circle moment, and he's like talking about the things he learned and what's the meaning of life and whatnot. Like, I felt that in this book. So each chapter, it'll have the chapter in Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and then it'll have a rule because it's called Rules for a Night. So a few examples of the list of these rules would be solitude, humility, forgiveness, honesty, courage, justice, speech, dedication. And so, for example, if it was talking about gratitude, like there's chapter 3 was about gratitude. The beginning, so like the precursor to the chapter, it will say gratitude. I have the Roman numeral. Then I'll have like a sentence or two about something that has to do with gratitude. And then the chapter was dedicated to an experience that the knight had that he was sharing with his children. Because again, this book is pretty much dedicated to his children so that when they grew up, they would have something to live by, rules and principles to live by. And I don't know, I just think that if, especially young boys and young men like myself, and grown men as well, like our 30s, 40s, 50s, but just more like this generation, I think would really benefit from reading this, especially men, because the world is just falling deeper and deeper into depravity and debauchery, and morals are just kind of tanking. And I believe that most young boys and men, we are knights naturally, but we just never really truly tap into it because we're not shown the path. We're not given the space to embody that. And then, social media and the evil and the darkness of the world kind of goes in quickly and grabs you and tries to quench your soul of any goodness. So it becomes harder as you get older to become a knight and have these attributes of forgiveness and solitude and watching what you say and dedication and hard work and discipline and all those things. But one of the rules in particular that I wanted to mention or talk about was called speech, and it was chapter, trying to learn my Roman numerals, so that's 13, 14, 15. It was chapter 16. And another thing that I liked is that Ethan Hawke, he wrote this book, but he involved his children in it. For example, each chapter has a certain picture with it, and his son drew those pictures, and that's just really cool how he nurtured that, and he used his son's talent to bring forth an idea that he had that really, I think, is affecting lives. And it's just, I feel like it's one of those books where it's like, I don't know if many people know about it, but when you do finally stumble upon it, it really does make an impact. So this is my way of promoting Rules for a Knight by Ethan Hawke. Very well done. So I'm just going to read a little bit. So it's called Speech, this chapter. Do not speak ill of others. A knight does not spread news that he does not know to be certain, or condemn things that he does not understand. And then basically this chapter talks about an experience that the knight had with his grandfather. They were out doing maybe some mission or something, or maybe they're training or camping or whatever, and they're walking and it's evening, and he sees a sunset, and naturally you'd be like, wow, it's a beautiful sunset, like I've done that many times. And he's talking about how beautiful the sunset is, and his grandfather just nods. It's like, yeah. And then he mentions it again, and then he sees the moonlight comes out and the stars, and he's like, "Oh, this is so beautiful, Grandpa. Don't you agree?" And his grandfather's like, "Yeah." He doesn't like make a big deal of it, and basically, he said that he was frustrated about that, and it like kind of bothered him. So he asked his grandfather. He said, "Why did you not say anything about the sunset or the stars? Like that bothered me. Like, did you not think it was beautiful?" And basically, I'm going to read a little bit what it said, but basically his grandfather responded with something that was just really profound. And it was basically, he said that nature doesn't always need you to acknowledge its beauty through talking. Sometimes you can just look at things, acknowledge the beauty, acknowledge its existence, and leave it at that. And people might think, oh, that's excessive. What if you just want to just, acknowledge how beautiful something is? But I think it translates more to learning to be someone who speaks less. Because when you watch what you say and you speak less and you don't just spew out your words when you feel something, you're more you're more inclined to think more about what you say before you say it. And when you do say something, it holds more weight and it's much more profound when you just kind of talk haphazardly. So he says here, when we arrived at the gates, the sun had gone down and was full night. I asked grandfather, didn't you think the sunset was glorious? Why didn't you say anything? And this is the part that got me. He said, the sun was speaking for itself, the old knight replied. Later, as we were falling asleep, each comfortable in his own small cot, high in the castle turret, I don't know, I couldn't let it rest. So then he goes in to ask his grandfather again. His grandfather gives him maybe a proverb or a scenario. And in the last paragraph of this, it says, I lay there unable to rest, looking out the small window above his bed. The moon was bright and full. This little window was nothing but a hole in the wall, yet it filled the whole room with light. And to me, I interpreted that as when something has value, whether how great or small, or how spectacular or subtle it may seem, it doesn't always need to be voiced or praised, because its purpose is what does that for you or for it. And that's just powerful to take throughout life in general. We are on social media, we like getting approval from things. We like experiencing recognition and the fame and the likes and the comments. But when something truly hits, something is truly powerful that you do or say or write or create, it's gonna be good enough in its own, the way you present it, if that makes any sense. That speech one also reminded me of Proverbs 18:21, one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Those who love it will eat its fruits. And that's still something that I kind of struggle with, like in terms of just like watching what I say. But each day I'm learning to become more of that type of person and embody those qualities of a knight, who I am. I am a knight, but the journey through life is bringing that more out, so that you can use those qualities of a knight to really change the world and help people and help others experience yeah, that's a word, but see the knight in themselves, especially young boys, men who feel lost in this world, because it's definitely trying to destroy us, especially if you're chosen, but we know that's not going to happen. So yeah. But yeah, thank you for coming to the realm of the Mindful Madman, and I will see you in the next video.